And welcome back to pre-recorded Who Would Win for Monday. We're technically still in the week of Who Would Win because the month went all the way to Tuesday. So, just so you know, that's why you're getting one on Tuesday as well. But this one comes to us from Abo Sapas, and I couldn't find anyone else giving me this one. Victor Crowley versus Wolverine. Obviously, we know who Wolverine is. James Howlett, born in the 1800s, his mutation activated when he saw his father get killed by their, their groundskeeper, something Logan. It turns out, he was actually his real father. His mutation activated, or awoken, giving him a supremely powerful healing factor, enhanced senses, and bone claws made of actual bone, not keratin, strong enough to cut even through metal. Then he went through the Weapon X program about a century later, and, had adamantium bound into his body, and now we have the Wolverine we have today. Wolverine is straight, he's only considered like a beta-level mutant. But he's capable of going toe-to-toe with much stronger individuals, so long as they don't have abilities directly designed to counter his. He can easily lift about half a ton. He's pretty much indestructible thanks to the adamantium skeleton and healing factor. You would need to he's even been nuked, basically. He's been blasted away by nitro. And because his brain was protected, he was able to grow everything back. He's a master martial artist because he's over 100 years old. I think he's probably over 200 years old at this point. Because he ages so slowly, he's got years of experience, enhanced senses, and, claws about a foot long each that can cut through just about anything, depending on the amount of force he gives. And in recent years, I don't know if he still has this ability. I'm going to check that right now. In recent comics, they gave him the ability to heat up his claws. Like, his claws got hot, like red hot, as he got angry, like as his Berserker Rage took effect. Which, while I'm looking this shit up, when we talk about his Berserker Rage real quick, his Berserker Rage is basically a state of mind where he basically goes into a pure primal, fury. It can basically just enhancing all of his physicality, his ferocity, ignoring pain, but he also loses, his awareness, basically, his sense of self for a while. He'll attack friend and ally alike. 1 second here. Come on, am I gonna find anything about? Oh, let's try this. Wolverine powers and abilities, because I want to know if he still has the heating up claws thing. Because they can get hot enough to easily light up or light gasoline on fire, which you wouldn't think is very impressive. But you have to understand, gasoline. You can't just put something hot in gasoline and hope it ignites. You do need to get to a certain heat to do that. Let's see here. Wolverine, let's try this. Here we go. Powers and abilities from Wolverine. Master Tactician, Professional Regenerative Healing Factor, not invulnerable. Let's see here. Do they still have the Heating Claws ability? You know what? Doesn't look like they list that anymore. Maybe it's something he did initially, he got for a while and then lost? Because I'm not seeing anything here about that. Anyway, he used to have that ability. We won't hold it against him if he doesn't have it. Victor Crowley, basically, what Victor Crowley is he's a revenant. He's a vengeful spirit that awakens in his territory when people basically walk in and, invade territory. He has exceptionally good sense and perception in there, to the point where I think he even heard thinking of like a bit of sweat drop at one point, and he attacked the sweat when he heard someone from someone who was hiding. He don't really carries a hatchet, but he's also just physically strong enough to tear a man apart with his bare hands. He can just recover from most injuries without too much difficulty, because he's a spirit. Even though he has a physical form, he can't really die. In theory, you can put him down temporarily, but he'll just reform in his cabin. Now, I don't know what happens if you were to, say, burn down that cabin to ashes. I don't know what happens, or relocate, or just tear it apart. I don't know. But, yeah, he just always comes back, more or less. And that might be just a brief summary, but there's not much more you can go off from that. Both these guys are functionally immortal. Technically speaking, Victor's dead, but he can still have a physical form you can still physically hit. So if these two meet in a fight, let's say Wolverine's tracking someone through the bayou or whatever, winds up in Victor's territory. Victor sees this guy, and, Wolverine can smell him because Wolverine's sense of smell is that good. And I'm sure he still has an odor to him. I mean, he's usually covered in blood. He probably smells like a swamp, like disgusting BO and swamp. And if he argues, like, well, he's a spirit, he's dead. How many times have you watched a show about, like, the demons and stuff like that, and that people have said, oh, it smelled like rotting flesh or something like that? No. By all accounts, the dead spirits have a smell to them. So Wolverine could probably detect that. He reacts to the hatch, he just cuts it. Victor just shows up, and they go toe-to-toe. Frankly, Victor might be strong. Victor may be on par with Wolverine in strength, but Wolverine, by comic definition, is probably stronger than Victor. We just don't know a true limitation to his strength. But these two will probably duke it out for a little bit. Wolverine stabs him. Victor can still feel pain, admittedly, although it's probably dull. And he just kind of grabs Wolverine, tries to rip him apart, but Wolverine's spine and ligaments are adamantium. Not in the Ultimate Universe, but in every other incarnation, he can't really be ripped in half. So he tries, and Wolverine's like, and just all of a sudden just takes his hand off. And then just goes, just rips him apart. And that's the end of that fight, but Victor just reappears back in his cabin. Wolverine probably even gets close to the cabin, sees Victor again. It's like, didn't I already kill you, bub? It's like, and then, they go toe-to-toe again. And Wolverine, despite being a berserker, is actually a very smart individual. He knows how to strategize in a fight when he needs to. I believe Beast once compared his mental state when he was like measuring his mental capacity in the danger room as, I think, like 4 Olympic level athletes doing 3D chess simultaneously or something like that. Like, Wolverine's actually very intelligent. And he figured out this guy's nice thing. And, like, when he slices him up again, Victor just suddenly just gets back up. And he even sees him reforming or whatever. And it's like, wait, and it's like, what the hell? And just puts him down again, gets up again. It's like, what are you? That's the thing. Victor really doesn't have any means of killing Wolverine. He just doesn't. Conversely, obviously, Wolverine doesn't have any real means of killing this guy either. Although, if Wolverine could piece together what's going on here, which is possible, he's been through a lot of fights and seen a lot of things, he could just, like, light a lantern or something, like light the place on fire, burn it down, and maybe Victor could be stopped that way. Again, I don't know if it's ever proven you can do that. But really what's just going to happen here is Wolverine's like, I don't have time for this, and just runs off. Victor might try to follow him. He puts Victor down one more time. Victor reforms, and Wolverine's out of his territory, and the fight is pretty much over. There is no winner in terms of who's killing who here. The only winner is who's basically going to be winning the majority of the outcomes, and it's going to be Wolverine. If for no other reason than a healing factor in a nigh indestructible skeleton, there's nothing that frickin' Victor has that can go through adamantium. Even by some miracle, this takes place in the Marvel Universe, which you would theoretically have to, and that a hatchet he has is made of adamantium. Just because he has an adamantium weapon doesn't mean he's just going to immediately crash through adamantium. If you have two things made of steel, they clash. They don't immediately cut through. One doesn't cut through the other because they're the same hardness. He might be able to actually dent or scratch Wolverine at that point on his adamantium, but he's not going to cut through his adamantium, even with an adamantium weapon. He'd have to find some way to enhance the weapon or have something stronger than adamantium or do something to get rid of the adamantium or counter the adamantium. Vibranium or something like that. Now, before anyone even says, well, just give him an Antarctic Vibranium axe. Or hatchet. That wasn't the who would win. B, that is me trying to play favoritism right now to Victor for the Victor Crowley fans because that's, because your guy lost, basically. So, but you know what? Let's do that. Let's even do that weird, impossible scenario where not only we're in the Marvel Universe, because it would have to be, not only does he have a hatchet, but it's made of Antarctic Vibranium, which can actually melt and cut through adamantium. So the hatchet maybe swings, Wolverine dodges it, he brings the hatchet down, he hits Wolverine, and it hits Wolverine's arm, and Wolverine realizes he just lost his arm. Now, I think Wolverine could grow his arm, well, if he didn't have the adamantium, he could grow his arm back. Because he does, here's the thing, it all depends on what continuity you look at. Like in the Age of Apocalypse continuity, he couldn't grow his hand back. He had to wear like a nub. The claws still were there, but couldn't grow his hand back. If you take out the adamantium, then sure he could grow his arm back because it's growing everything back. But if you take the adamantium into the equation, it's bonded with his bones to like the molecular level, pretty much. Will he grow? Will he just grow a stump around there, or will he actually maybe grow back from the bones, or from the adamantium bone, normal bone and all that? Either way, Wolverine realizes, like, okay, I can't get hit by that thing again. So he immediately just dodges again, cuts off Victor's hand, and just hurls it as far as he can, away from, like, into the water, where Victor, basically, because Wolverine probably has a good arm on him, and that thing's probably got heft, so he can just, and just throws it far away. So even if Victor comes back, he'd have to go all the way out to get his hatchet. So, while, yeah, he probably would actually do some lasting damage to Wolverine until something happens where he can get a hand back, Wolverine's still going to win that fight, I think. Because Wolverine's just the smarter individual. It can keep his cool more often in a fight than Victor could. So even in that scenario, to me being kind to the Victor Crowley fans out there, Wolverine still wins it. This is, however, just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you feel different. And if you do, that's cool. We are all fans here. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you'd like. Until then, I'll see you for the next one. Later.